Listen, today is the day. Today is the day that I'm going to be making some people mad. I hate to tell you, but I'm going to be making some people mad today. You know why? Because we are going to be talking some facts about Cape Coral. Now listen, I don't hate Cape Coral. People will tell me, you're just a hater, you hate Cape Coral, you're just a hater, that's what the problem is here. Listen, I don't hate Cape Coral, but you know who does seem to hate Cape Coral? The buying public. Can I just say it? Can I just say it? This is not my opinion. This is the opinion of the buying public. So, I know that many of you, friends of the channel, I could not believe there was an article that came out calling Cape Coral the absolute worst market in the country. But if you watch my channel, you already know this because I have been telling you this. I have been warning you. I have been gently and then sometimes not so gently warning you that Cape Coral is not a strong market. Some people agree with me. Some people want to argue with me. That is all good. Either way, it doesn't matter. But this article came out, and friends of the channel here on Connect to Florida, I received that article when I woke up in the morning 31 times. 31 of you thought enough to go, oh, Barrett needs to see this. Yes, ma'am. And I thought that was so funny because I do appreciate when you all send me things or when you send me emails asking me to look into this or that, or you think I need to see something. I read all of that, and 31 times I received that from all of you. So thank you very much. I did read that article, and then of course, you know, there's always copycat articles right after something like that comes out. But listen, I'm going to tell you, you already knew. You already knew. So let's go over some facts. We're going to talk about the facts in case you did not see that article. And then I want to talk to you a little bit like, grab your coffee, let's have a coffee chat. Let's talk as friends. And listen, even haters. The haters are invited as well. It's all good. Grab your coffee and your biscotti, and we're going to talk about what the problem is with Cape Coral. Why is it that not Barrett, but why all of you don't like it either? All right, let me turn my microphone off, and I'm going to read you some data, and then let me scoot over and I'll pop it up right here. Key data from the Wall Street Journal, July 1st, 2025. Very, very new. Now, some of you are saying, oh, I don't read the Wall Street Journal. Listen, I get that. I totally understand that. But you can look this up. This is just one of the sources, but it's everywhere. Data is data. So you get your news wherever you want to. Median home prices dropped 11% from May 2023 to May 2025. The steepest decline among major U.S. metros. That's a lot. 11% is a lot. If you look at it like 3-bedroom, 2-bath, $500,000 home, 11% is over $50,000. So you're talking about a lot, and it takes some people more than a year to make that amount of money. And if you're retired, it really would affect you. Over 50% of the listed homes have had price reductions, with 52% of the properties marked down. 52% marked down. Listen, it's not Barrett. Stop getting mad at me over this stuff. About 8% of homeowners owe more on their mortgages than their homes are worth. What does that mean? It means you're going to start to see short sales, foreclosures. That is when you see a market fall through. Who remembers this guy? Do any of you, I'm dating myself, did any of you remember Carlton Sheets? Do you remember him? He was on late night, like midnight, you know, and people would watch it, and he would tell people all these ways that you could buy a home, no money down. He wrote a bunch of books. He made a ton of money doing seminars. Do you know where he was from, where he went to high school, and where he originated doing this no money down, tricky financing, things that maybe border on unethical. He's not in business anymore. I heard he got sued for multi-millions. I don't know the outcome of that, but it wasn't good. Anyway, all that said, Cape Coral. That's where it all began. When you look at Cape Coral in a map, like if you do an overview, I always say it looks like missing teeth, okay? Like house, no house, no house. House, like tooth, no tooth. You understand what I'm saying? That's how it looks on a flyover map. That screams underfunded, bankrupt, started a house, couldn't finish a house. I think the other problem with Cape Coral is that if they would have continued on, maybe they could have been more like Punta Gorda. That there's not a bunch of HOAs in Punta Gorda, and there's almost no HOAs in Cape Coral. There's one or two, like Sandoval is one. There's one or two in Cape Coral, but it's predominantly, I'm going to say 95% of it is no HOA. People like that, and also they like the canals, the water access. They forgot that when you have that Gulf access and you back to water, yes, there are a lot of good things about that, but if a big storm comes through, and they do, and your seawall cracks, breaks, crumbles, the cost per square foot is enormous. So that problem has occurred a lot in Cape Coral. And then also, if you don't have a canal that's more than, say, 30 feet wide, you're literally, yes, you have that little body of water that almost looks like a storm sewer. Can I just be honest? It does. And you're looking into your neighbor's kitchen. Like, you can see that they had 2 over easy eggs and a bagel for breakfast. It is that close when the canals are skinny like that. The other thing they've been doing here lately that I don't like at all is you're going to have, so you've got single family homes predominantly in Cape Coral. Yes, there are condos, but it's predominantly single family homes. What they're allowing, and I just can't even believe this. So let's say single family home, dead lot, single family home, 30-foot canal, and right across the way, which this is all residential, you have a duplex, or you have a quad, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have 30 feet. We already know you can see what they're having for breakfast. So if you have 4 units sitting there, or even 2, and you stack duplex, vacant lot, duplex, how do you think that's going to feel to the person that spent $500,000 right across the canal? There's going to be all these rentals, because generally speaking, those duplexes are for rentals. That investors snatch them up like that. And there's nowhere for anybody to play. It's not like there's yards. There's like this little bitty plot of grass and then this canal. I'm telling you, it is not good. It's loud. They get rented out. Cape Coral does not have enough rules to stop a problem with VRBO. So technically, you are not supposed to rent your home. You're not supposed to be doing weekend rentals. You're not supposed to do that. It's supposed to be weekly, which is also bad. I mean, that will feel like you live next door to a hotel. So by the way, if you're going to buy a home in Cape Coral, you really do want to get a gauge as to how many people are renting on the street. So if you choose a street, listen, I'm not going to tell anybody don't go door to door and knock on their door. I'm not, because you really do have to know these things. Otherwise, you might buy something that you're not comfortable with. Because if you don't want to live where everybody around you is renting weekly, and you don't want to feel, you want to lay roots in a community and not feel like you've bought in a hotel, that's going to matter to you. So that was just hitting a lot of the things I wanted to talk to you about. So the metro inventory surged from 3,500 homes at the pandemic peak to 12,000. So a lot of people during COVID would jump all over me and tell me Cape Coral is the best market in the country. And I kept saying, you don't understand what's going on here. We're going to see a gap. We're going to see a problem. This is the problem. Foreclosures are rising. Open house attendance is low. Partially built homes are being sold at a loss, and builders are quitting projects mid-build. That is all over Cape Coral. We have talked about it on this channel before. builders get partially in, they lose funding, and then you have a house that's got maybe a foundation, you have the framing up, and it just sits there and gets rained on. No roof in, or you have things like it's sitting that way and somebody steals the AC unit because they know it's just sitting this way. So lots and lots of problems on these partial builds. If you're a strong investor that can come in and buy cash, maybe you can get a good deal on one of those, but you're really going to have a lot of trouble financing something like that. You can go to a bank and ask for a portfolio product, but the problem with it is most banks will not want to touch that. And there are many of those sitting in Cape Coral right now. As I was just mentioning, 64% of multifamily properties are offering rental concessions, indicating a broader market slowdown. So this will tell us a little bit about the problems that have occurred. The pandemic, overheating things, which we just talked about, insurance and tax costs, Hurricane Ian exposure. You would not believe, let me turn that off real quick. You would not believe how many people are still trying to rebound from Hurricane Ian. And we're talking about over 3 years ago that hurricane hit, and people are still having problems. Why? What they did, and this really bothered me when this happened, there were so many people that had a lot of damage done to their houses during Hurricane Ian, between flooding and wind. Like, it ran the gamut. And by the way, Cape Coral was the last to get power on. So we lost power where I live. We lost power for 9 days. There were many, it was so broad, many areas lost power. You always want to have a generator. If you can't afford a whole home generator, a whole house generator, at least get a smaller generator so you can power your refrigerator and have cold water. You're not going to have cable TV or internet or anything like that because those will be down anyway. But Cape Coral was the last to get their power on. I don't know why, but they prioritize, and for some reason that was prioritized last, even though it was hit very, very hard. So that's something to consider. But what they ended up doing was when people would have their insurance company out, so there were a lot of people that didn't get near as much money as they thought they were going to get from their insurance company, the game they play, you know what I mean? So a lot of people felt like, you know what, I'm just going to get in there, I'm going to start my cleanup, I'm going to start ripping out drywall because there's water sitting in that drywall and there's mold. I don't want to have a mold problem. So they went in and they did work on their own homes. Well, guess what happened? The insurance companies said, we didn't authorize that work, so we're not going to pay you anything. And the insurance companies, many of them, this happened to a lot of people in Cape Coral. This was all over the news. The insurance companies were going backwards. The county, Lee County, played really a tricky game with this, to where if you didn't have permitting to pull out your drywall, if you didn't have permitting to start a roof, then they were going backwards and penalizing you every single day that they weren't in there to put their stamp of approval on it. It was really, really bad. And Cape Coral was one of the areas that got hit very, very hard with that. So again, I will say, do I hate Cape Coral? I absolutely don't, but I just think there's so many issues in Cape Coral that there's reasons that people don't choose it. Now, if you are looking, and I always say this about Cape Coral, if you are looking for big open water, your goal is to have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath pool home with a big lanai, and you want to be near big open water, and you can spend, you know, somewhere between $500 and $1 million, you are going to be able to find that in Cape Coral. if you're on big open water, that might be something you consider if you can deal with many of the other things we talk about. Not having a lot of shopping, not being real, resort feeling at all, not having a beach. And when I say a beach, I mean a Gulf of Mexico beach, a Gulf of America beach. I'll say both to make everyone happy here. Maybe we'll just say the Gulf. But you don't have a beach. Everybody, when I say you don't have a beach, I get people that will say, yes, we do. We have the yacht club. That is not a beach. That is not a beach the way that most of you are thinking of beaches. Yes, you can drive to a beach, but you don't have one in Cape Coral. Listen, you don't have one in Estero either. So you can drive. But that said, if you're willing to kind of deal with what the shortcomings of Cape Coral are, and you just love to boat, then it might be a good spot for you. But as a whole, the buyers have spoken, and Cape Coral is the worst in the country.